Show that.
Oh, it's
there we
saying
go.
live. Yes.
Live. There we are. Hello and welcome to the Candida Cleanser Group Cleanse. Today is day 20, and I'm very excited to have a very special guest with us today. This is Sommy, and she did the cleanse about over a year ago. Correct me if I'm wrong. A year or two?
Yes. Oh my goodness. It was exactly a year.
Exactly a year ago.
Yeah, it was exactly a year ago. Mm-hmm.
And she was super active in the Facebook support group. She became one of the most motivating, inspirational people on her journey because of her dedication to herself, to her health, and to really creating the best version of herself. And to this day, she continues to blog about all the amazing different things she does. She'll try anything once to, if it will help empower her and make her a better version of herself. And I know she's got lots of tips and secrets and on her journey that she's learned, but also a really beautiful story of transformation. And I'm just really excited to share it with you. So thank you, Sommy, so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much, Aga. I honestly, being in the Candida Cleanser group, it was the experience of detoxing and cleansing wasn't so lonely being a part of this group. So I'm so grateful to have met so many people, so many beautiful souls, so many friends. I've had a lot of people go out of their way to add me, as well as private message me as well. So I want to thank everybody, because I know it's not an easy journey, and I know repeat questions come up, and that's really okay. I want to keep asking the same questions because we're always going to be different from people. But yeah, I can definitely start off with my story if you'd like, and where I was 2 years ago and where I am today.
Yeah, I would love to hear how you started out, but also your story of your childhood, because we don't just wake up one day and have Candida. There's so many things that happen to us, even when we're born, how we're born, how stressed out was the mother when we were in the womb, and that whole journey when we were growing up to bring us to that day where we realize we have a problem and we need to cleanse.
So for me, what had happened was my mom had a Candida overgrowth. So when I was a baby, actually, when I was delivered, I had thrush in my mouth. And at that time, they just thought it was a normal thing. They just thought babies had that. But I had digestive issues. Going into about my teenage years, like hitting puberty and probably around age 12 was when my hormones were out of whack, complete whack. My periods were never balanced. It was never on time. I was one of those girls that had the extreme menstrual cramps on the first day. It would be so debilitating that I wouldn't be able to go to school, and I'd miss like a couple days just because it was so painful. Through that, though, I had a lot of digestive issues, and then I started packing on weight. So at 9 years old, my doctor said I was extremely overweight for 9 years because I was 4'6", I believe, and 50 pounds overweight. So at my heaviest, at like 4'9", I was carrying about 170 pounds. I'm only 5 feet tall now, and my current weight is 124. So that's a lot. I mean, that for me is a lot. I could really feel it, right? And you can also see it as well when 5 pounds of weight loss. When I lose 5 pounds and when I gain 5 pounds, it's really noticeable because of my height and my stature. But as I was growing up, my mom, coming from a third world country, she never really knew what healthy eating was, and I'm from Thailand, so she was from Laos. I was born in Thailand, and the food there, they proper, cleanly eating habits, I guess, and also like food handling too. So just with my mom being taught how to eat like that, and then that's how she taught me how to eat. Like we just didn't have the best practices. So over time, my digestive health was shot, my emotional, my hormonal health was shot, till I got to about age I had, a lot of people don't know what chronic fatigue was, and sometimes some dogging as well. But at 15 years old, I couldn't get out of bed one day. I was overweight, 170 pounds. I just kept going in and out of the state of consciousness of this brain fog, and something was literally taking over my brain mentally, and I felt so stuck, and I just didn't know what was going on with me. So on that journey, that day when I had woken up, and I honestly felt so lifeless. I felt like on the verge of like death. It was so scary for a 15-year-old. I went to my doctor, and he said that there was nothing wrong, so he prescribed me anxiety and depression pills. I fell for it. I believed in me, so I took it, and then he prescribed me some what would you call, like antibacterial, like prescription drugs to kind of help me, but like that's so bad for your gut. So my Candida just kept getting worse. I didn't even know what Candida was. So over time, you're trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with me. So the symptoms that came up for me was brain fog, fatigue, lethargy, panic attacks, anxiety attacks, muscle aches. I had like ringing in my ears, and like these little things, when you're not in a healthy state, they feel like they're crippling you. Like you feel so off. You just don't feel human. Like I felt like a walking zombie, which is crazy to say, but I was in such an unhealthy state. That's how I felt. I felt like something else had taken over my body. It was 3 years. So about 18 years old was when I finally wanted to go the natural route, and I finally sought out the natural path, and I was like, I don't know if it's gonna work. This is kind of woo-woo to people and to me, but I'm just so sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. I'm gonna try anything. I'll give it my best shot. So I went to a few naturopaths, and over that being 18 to 19, fortunately I had a job. Everything, all the appointments that I went to, all the natural supplements that I took cost a lot. I think the total cost of being on this health journey, trying to figure out what was wrong with me, was a total of $10,000. And I was shocked. I was like, nothing is working. So I happened to stumble on colon hydrotherapy. I don't know if I'm going on a tangent here, but this is like all these things that happened in the past, like it took years to figure out what was happening. And I don't even know why. Candida is something like we all have, and it's a normal thing. The overgrowth part is where it becomes a problem. So yeah, I saw this ad. It was for a colon hydrotherapist. I had no clue what that was. I went to see her, and she changed my life. I didn't know what the procedure was, but for those who aren't aware of what colon hydrotherapy is, you are cleansing your colon. So water is going up into your intestines, into your colon, and getting it through all the crevices of the colon, and pulling all the gunk that's stored in there from years and years. So one session is not enough sometimes. But the first session was when she had shown me all this mucus this might be a bit too much information, but all this mucus that was coming out, all this foam that was coming out, and there was so much of it, and there's so much discoloration. The look on her face, I can still remember it to this day. She asked me how old I was. I said I was 19, and she said, I don't know how you have managed to live like this, but your Candida overgrowth is so bad that you are on the verge of like really unhealthy too. If you don't get this, you'll probably die, right? And I was like, oh, that's extreme. But I said, what is Candida overgrowth? She said there is so much dead Candida stuck in your body that it's like there's so much that it's not stopping. Like we need more than this one section. So it was just a bunch of dead Candida. And after that day, I left, and I just thought to myself, what is this thing? You know, I researched it. I tried to do my own self-work, and I dabbled in all these things, right? Because there's so much information. It can be so overwhelming. But I dabbled, and it took me 3 years to heal myself and to finally lose weight successfully. 15 pounds for the first time, and then slowly I started losing weight again. But I was using like all these tinctures and these supplements that was recommended online, like oil of oregano, also olive leaf extract. I just did what I read, but I was able to maintain my weight for 2 years and kind of stay healthy. However, the candida was still there. I knew it was still there. Recently, last year, life happened. I was changing jobs, and I just left a relationship, and my life was really chaotic and stressful. And in that state, I must have been emotionally eating as well. The candida flared up. So 3 years of being like almost candida free, it flared up in a matter of 3 months. So the 15 pounds I had lost, I actually gained it all back in 3 months and more and more. And I was kind of like so shocked at how fast these things were happening. And I was actually in denial. I kind of knew it was a candida overgrowth, but I didn't want to put 3 years of an effort into it all over again. I felt like, it's probably not a candida. It's not a bacterial growth. I'm not willing to commit 3 years again. And that's when I found the Candida cleanser, because it was just 45 days of detoxing. It took me a year to finally come to terms with this could potentially be a candida overgrowth. I think I need to cleanse. And that day last year in July was when I committed. I was so sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. I had packed on all the weight I lost. I was feeling uncomfortable in my body and in my skin. And I thought, okay, 45 days, a lot. And in the summer, it was kind of the worst time to do a cleanse, but I was so committed to it, and I trusted this product so much that I was going to give it my best shot. And I got to tell everybody that's watching, this is the only product that has been able to keep me maintaining my health as well as my candida at bay. And I only had to do, I did it twice. So over a 6-month span. So I did the first round for 45 days, and then I waited 6 months and I did another round. But yeah, this is definitely something I'll be doing every year.
And it's so true how we could have our health, I try and say it's like health is not a final destination. It's always a journey. It's like this garden we're always tending. And once you have everything in place, everything can be beautifully pruned, the flowers are out to bloom. But again, if we begin to stress out, if we, maybe go away for a weekend or like go out for some drinks and then we lose our job and something happens with the boyfriend, all of a sudden we stop tending to that garden and the weeds are going to start to come up. The flowers are going to die. And then we begin to set that perfect environment to Candida to become an overgrowth and to become a problem. And when you think about how fast a piece of bread can mold, it's like overnight, right? When it has those perfect conditions of moist temperature and not enough bacteria in there, and then all of a sudden the fungus just turns and it's like, and your bread is blue. It's like the same thing can happen inside your body. That yeast is always there. The stress all of a sudden that you're exposed to kills off your good bacteria. Cortisol running through your veins because you're stressed out, which raises your blood sugar to then feed Candida. So even if you're not eating sugar, there's still sugar coursing through your veins. And boom. And especially if you already have a history that has made you vulnerable to infection. So it's something that unfortunately we have to stay up on top of our whole life. Especially if, like in your case, when we were born with it, we were born already with this predisposition of a leaky gut and a poor microbiome.
Yeah, and my mom is in total denial of it. Like, she doesn't think it's a problem with her, but it runs in my family. So it is really, from personal experience, I have seen that it's very obvious that the gut flora, the mother's gut flora, does get passed on to the baby. The baby takes half of the gut flora, takes it on with them. And I have 3 brothers, and they all have a skin problem. All have psoriasis. They all have what's that? The athlete's foot. I can't remember what that's called, but yeah, no, like you could see the Candida overgrowth and the infection on their skin and their scalp, and it's insane how such a simple little bacteria can really do that to your body, especially long term. And it's insane how some people just think that that's normal to live like that. You know, that's just a normal way of living.
Yeah, it's like our birth process is so important. We focus so much on what the mother's eating and to make sure that she avoids like fish and mercury in fish, but we pay little importance to her gut microbiome. Is she eating probiotics? Is she eating fermented foods? Does she have leaky gut? And also, is the child born natural birth, or is it a C-section? C-section babies are so prone to have a distorted bacteria ratio. There's more negative bacteria than positive, or the wrong bacteria began to colonize. The ones on the skin began to colonize on the inside, but the ones on the inside are supposed to be your lacto and your bifido, not the ones that are on your skin. And so what they're beginning to do now with hospitals that are more conscious about birth is, if the baby is born by a C-section, they'll actually take a sponge and soak up the juices from the mother's vaginal canal and just begin to smother the baby's skin and the lips and the face and everything. And even the mother's anus, they'll take, the bacteria there, because during the birthing process, everything opens up. So the baby can it's called the microbial baptism.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Because that's your first seed of your immune system, is the vaginal canal on the lips of the baby, so then it can get inoculated. It goes down and it begins the colonization process. But if you miss that, the first thing that touches the baby's mouth is probably, a sterile, sanitized glove of the doctor, or, who knows, some sort of crazy bacteria that's in the hospital.
Yeah. Wow. So much to learn. Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. And I really hope that people take something from this too, like especially expecting mothers, right? Like I really learned a lot through this process, and like when we go way back into where everything stemmed from, like to think that it was from when I was a baby and it affected years of my life, when it could have been as simple as, if only my mom had known that she had a yeast overgrowth, right? She could probably cater our food to eating like a little bit healthier, taking the right supplements, right? So yeah, I really did suffer for a really long time just due to the lack of awareness. And I'm sure people aren't alone. They have all these symptoms and they get diagnosed with, a depression, anxiety, ADD, and they think it's them, when really their issues or underlying problems that they're not looking at. Like, they don't need to really identify that as who they are. Could be something totally so simple, like a Candida overgrowth.
Yeah. So we're on day 20, and you've done this cleanse twice.
Yes.
So you've experienced die-off, and what are some things that you did during your cleanse to help you?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so the first day, I didn't know what to expect. I actually thought it was going to be super easy because, the first day, I guess your body's just trying to figure out what you're doing. And then day 2, I slowly started getting tired. Day 3 and 4 and 5, the die-offs were so bad. For new cleansers, I will let you know, a little warning, you're going to be on a emotional roller coaster with this cleanse. There were days where by the 5th day, I felt like the clouds parted, the sun was shining, I felt so good. And then by the 9th day, I was so tired and so lethargic. But what had helped me, what saved me, I used to, prior to cleansing, my lifestyle and my workout routine was exercising 5 days a week. So that caused a lot of physical stress. My job alone was also high stress. So like I was always in a high stress, fast paced place. But when cleansing, because I knew all that I was doing wasn't going to benefit my cleansing process, especially in the state that I was in, being so tired as well. I did the opposite of what I was doing. So instead of doing workouts that were extreme and high intensity cardio, I really pulled back and listened to my body and did things like yoga, walking for a good hour. It took everything in my body not to like sprint or, do like some interval training, but I just knew that whatever I was doing in that moment, I really had to be aware of what my body was feeling physically. So what you're currently, how your body's physically feeling in that moment, and cater it to how your body's feeling, like your exercises to that. So don't continue to do something that is actually going to cause you more damage and more harm than good. So yeah, that's one huge thing that it's like a lot of body awareness. Yeah, taking the right supplements too, and also just being committed to the program. Just 45 days, just being totally committed to taking your supplements, doing your loading phases properly, and during times of die-off, just nap. Like listen to your body. That's the whole point. The healing happens when you're in the most relaxed and rested state. Yeah, constant stress, it just does way more harm than good.
Yeah, so for the people doing the cleanse, I've been completely honest with every single video. Like, I don't put makeup on in the mornings. I get up puffy faced, snotty, turn on the camera, and just honestly be like, today I'm feeling like absolute crap. And I think yesterday was one of those days where I got my period as well, which came on full on, because a period for females, that is also very cleansing.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then to be cleansing on top of that, and then to have a really stressful weekend, I was a total zombie. I felt totally hopeless and just like kind of suicidal at one point, like just thinking like, what's the point of all this? And then had to remember that, oh, this is die-off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then sitting with it and being okay with it, rather than getting caught up in it of like, why do I feel like this? How can I change it? And a lot of people want to change that state because they want to run away from the pain.
Mm-hmm.
But rather we have to face that pain with grace and with a nurturing perspective, because these are wounds that are healing, and it takes time. And yeah, and those wounds heal when we are relaxed and calm and sleeping.
Yeah, lots of sleep. Like good or not, rest and relax. But I really loved how you said that there was one point where you felt during your die-off, you felt almost suicidal. And intuitively for me, when you said that, I was like, oh my goodness, that's because sometimes for the longest time, our identity is attached to like what we're told is wrong with us. Like, oh, you have a Candida overgrowth, right? So your identity is like, oh my God, this is me now. I've got this Candida overgrowth. It's taking over my life. But as this bacteria, because you've associated with yourself as that, when it's dying, maybe like a part of you, because that attachment is there and you're letting go, you feel like a part of you is dying too. Like once this is gone and once you're healthy, who are you really? Like maybe you haven't seen that person or that side of you in so long. It's kind of the really limbo of how have you felt for so long, and how you've identified and attached yourself with these feelings of like feeling like that was normal, to oh my gosh, I'm starting to feel good and I'm doing something that's good for me. Is this really what I want? Like this is a whole new life for me.
Mm-hmm. I like that you brought up that we associate our symptoms and our condition as part of ourselves. Like, this is who I am. But that's not true. These are just things that you've decided to take on, because the true you actually is pure and is healthy and is joyful and is love. And a part of me believes that those suicidal thoughts that come up, or that fear, that anxiety, that's the Candida that's releasing that. And that's like the consciousness and like the way, that's what that fungus is going through. It is dying. It is freaking out. But we are so intertwined with it, especially with our our nervous system being so deeply rooted in our gut, that anything that's happening, any of the neurotransmitters, the hormones and chemicals, nutrients that are being released are going to reflect in how our consciousness perceives reality and our thoughts and our emotions.
Beautifully said. I love that.
And so I wanted to also, in your story, if you guys haven't checked Sommy out, she has an awesome YouTube video or YouTube channel, Sommy Logic, right? And in one of those videos, you're mentioning that when you were growing up, you had this moment in your life where it was picture day. Can you explain that moment?
Yes. So, 9 years old, it was picture day, and because I was overweight, as you guys know, my doctor had said that she weight for a 9-year-old. My mom made me look great. I had pigtails on. I had a nice outfit, and I remember standing in line, and I was holding her hand, and her friend was in front of us, and she had said, she looked down at me, and she said, "Wow, your daughter is so." No, she'd be so pretty if she wasn't so fat. And at 9, I looked up at my mom and I just said, "What does that mean? I would be so pretty if I wasn't so fat. What does that mean?" So my mom had said, "Oh, you're just big boned for a child." So what happened in that moment? I don't know if you guys know what a 9-year-old looks like, or you know, familiar with like the growth of a 9-year-old. I did not know what I needed to do to be accepted as well as to feel pretty. I decided I was going to go on a diet, so that led to not eating. So the average 9-year-old is totally unaware of what dieting is. I just decided not to eat. So this lady's comment really made an impact in my life that triggered me to go down a really depressing spiral, and I ended up not eating, overeating, not having balanced food, also not knowing how to eat the right foods. And then throughout the years, because of all this yo-yo dieting, of course, hormonally, I was totally unbalanced as well. I ended up having an eating disorder, and it was just this vicious cycle that didn't end. And I associated myself with this eating disorder, and I thought that was me, but really I was so lost and confused and wanting to feel so accepted from the entire world that I thought this eating disorder was like my identity and who I was, and that was kind of how I could connect with other people or maybe use it as a way to get attention. But to tie this all back into when I was in the womb of my mom and whatnot, all I wanted was self-love. I just wanted love. I just needed love from people I was looking for, and I didn't get that love when I was a baby, and I didn't, and as I was growing up, that love wasn't there, and that was all I wanted. So yeah, it does play it's insane how, like, I think Candida has always been a part of my life, and it's insane to overcome it and be Candida free in a way, because when I think back to what it was 2 years ago, I'm a completely different person, and that was actually such a small amount of time to really step in the person I really wanted to become.
Yeah, I like what you said there, where you said I really just wanted love, and that's the golden thread that connects us all. Is we really are loving beings, and we want love from, to be loved, but also most importantly to love ourselves. And when something like that happens when we're young, someone says, "Oh, you're so beautiful if you weren't," or like, "You'd be so much more beautiful if you weren't so fat." So instantly this belief about ourselves that we are not enough, and we're always going to be doing everything we can to try and find approval from the people around us so we can approve of ourselves. And those core beliefs about ourselves that are just completely insane and not true are stemmed to this condition. And I believe that's why it's all reflected differently in our body. For some it's IBS, for some it's chronic fatigue, for some it's that. But all these conditions are rooted in a similar limiting belief that we have about ourselves. And it's not until we change that belief about ourselves will we fully thrive again, because there's always going to be a hole that we're going to try and fill with something. And I know you are a huge preacher of self-love. And that was a big part of your healing journey, because you can be doing all the right thing, the proper diets, the exercise, but if you don't feel that love for yourself, you're always going to get sick with something. If it's not Candida, it'll be something else. So I would love for you to share your journey with your self-love practices, because I know that's what you said that is one of the key things that helped you in your recovery.
Yeah. Last year, when I was dealing with all of these health issues and the Candida overgrowth and knowing it was Candida, because I didn't want to come to terms with it, because I thought that I would have to commit another 3 years to healing myself again, and I wasn't willing to do that, I really internalized it. And because my physical appearance was the only thing at that time I felt like I had control over, I was really hard on myself. I was really like feeling like, oh, you're so fat, you're so worthless, and you're so tired all the time. Why does your body ache? Why does your muscles hurt? Right? Like you can't go to the gym properly. You can't do this. And I was just really in a state of lesson all the time prior to coming to terms with having Candida overgrowth and wanting to cleanse. So I felt like inside, I knew deep down that I was so much more than all these feelings, but I couldn't believe in myself enough because of the symptoms I was feeling, because of the physical feelings that I was feeling all around this. So deep down inside, I knew I was ambitious. I knew that I was positive. I knew that I was happy. I knew that I wanted to be kind and loving, but I just, because of my physical state, it was so hard to be that person. So what I came to terms with was, instead of working out every day just to hit a physical goal of looking a certain way, and also going on the diets to also look a certain way, instead of focusing on the physical aesthetics of things, I brought it all back within me and thought to myself, it's now time to look at myself as a whole, mind, body, spirit, and just get rid of all that I was doing and focus on me and healing inside. Because I knew that the root cause of all the problem was my gut health, and I knew that once my gut health would be fixed, everything else would kind of align, because your gut is your second brain, and that's where the intuition comes in too. So I just let go of what I thought I should be doing and intuitively listen to my body of what I knew that was right for me, was just to heal my body inside out first before focusing on getting like down to my last 10 pounds and whatnot. But why self-love was so important to me in this process was because I did have such a drill sergeant mentality of, I needed to be a perfectionist on this 45-day program, right? I couldn't cheat. I couldn't eat these things. I had to say no to dairy, wheat, gluten, soy, everything bad. I had to read labels, and I wanted to be perfect. Every single day I was on the program, I was like, I don't want to screw up. I don't want to screw up. But then there would be times where, when you're such a perfectionist, there are times that you're gonna cave. And I did have a bite of a cheesecake, and I did have a glass of wine, and my body reacted in such a way where it was telling me that like these things are no longer okay for me. So it took me a few times of making these little mistakes and these little hiccups of choosing the wrong things to eat while cleansing, where I was like, hey, you know what? No, 45 days is such a short amount of time to commit to out of like 100 years of your life, hopefully, that I was like, hey, enough of the cheesecake. That's always going to be there for you. That's always going to be there for you. But your health is something that will, if you don't maintain it, if you don't keep it, it will deteriorate slowly. And sometimes when you're not aware, over time, one day you're just going to wake up and you might be in the worst state of health where you can't do anything about it, right? There's always a way to do something about it, but it could be so debilitating to you that you can't do anything about it, right? So it's best to nip it now. Do the best that you can. Be easy on yourself. Be gentle on yourself, because this whole process is all about showing your body self-love and self-awareness, and loving yourself. Give yourself more love, not less, is what was my big mantra throughout the whole journey. There were so many times where the die-off was so bad. I was just like, I don't know if this is worth it. But and then you go through the feelings of defeat and like wanting to cave. And I had a lot of tantrums because I was just like, I want to eat what everyone else is eating. But you just got to know that those foods are always going to be there for you. And right now, it's just not the right time for your body to take that in.
Yeah. And when we begin to practice self-love and infuse loving action towards ourselves in every action of our day, naturally we will go towards foods that are healthy because they embody love, right? Fried chicken, deep fried chicken from KFC is not love.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And taking 15 minutes in the morning to maybe do morning pages. This is something I recommended yesterday. To just help you declutter your brain and write out. That's self-love. Taking 30 minutes once a week for an Epsom salt bath. That is self-love. Ending toxic relationships with, friends or partners. That is self-love. Everything that makes you feel bad about yourself, why are you exposing yourself to that? We like to torture ourselves, and it's like, no. Imagine like your child, your baby. We put so much effort into loving this baby, nurturing this child, giving it the perfect food and the best nap times. But when it comes to ourselves, we really put ourselves on the back burner. And, it's one of the most well-known quotes of all time is we need to love ourselves before we can love others. But we do the opposite. We love everyone else so that they can love us because we don't love ourselves. Right?
So one thing I'm sorry. One thing I do want to add with that is every time I had a moment where I was going to cave, whether it was choosing something bad or eating something bad or just doing something that was not healthy, what I asked myself for self-awareness that could help some of you too is this the most loving thing that I can do for myself? So I did that with cheesecake, right? I was like, is this the most loving thing that I can be giving myself right now? And intuitively, when you're paying attention, your body will tell you. If you listen to your body is speaking to you all the time. So I did that. It only took me about 3 times before I knew that my body knew what was best for me. And the cheesecake was no longer an issue. The wine was no longer an issue. And it was like, I'd pick up a salad, a bowl of salad, compared to something else like fast food, and I'd kind of try it and play around with it. And when I said, is this the most loving thing that I could do for me? Yes. That was immediate yes. And then for fast food, it's like, no, right? Like all these warning signs go up prior to even eating the dish. But yeah, I just thought that was something that could really help somebody on their journey.
And honestly, I like that you brought up being a perfectionist, because you don't have to be a perfectionist. We're human beings. There's like temptation everywhere. If you do want a cheesecake, instead of going to the store and buying one, maybe look up a healthy cheesecake recipe that you can make at home and use organic ingredients and use honey. Sure, if you're cleansing and you're not ready for those foods, your body might have a reaction and you're going to feel like crap. But at least it was healthy, safe ingredients, and you made that dish yourself with love. And anytime you make something with love and eat it with love, your body responds to it differently. It will accept it. And if you're not ready for it, sure, you might get headaches, you might get mucus, you might feel like you're taking a step back in your cleanse, but that's okay. Your body's punishing you for it. Why should you mentally punish yourself on top of that, feeling guilty and shame? You know, it's like those are very useless emotions to have. Just know that you chose to do that with love, and then move on tomorrow. Today's a new day.
Yeah, definitely.
So what you mentioned also colon therapy. I wanted to go back to that again because we quickly skimmed over it. It's a super, super powerful practice you could do. And it's true that it's not just the one session. I wanted to clear up that you have to at least go 7 to 8 times. Donna Gates of Body Ecology, she had this wonderful talk in the Microbiome Medicine Summit that I watched, and it was all about colon hydrotherapy. And you want to get a slow flow water release therapy. And the reason behind that is the water goes in there, and not only there's all this like hard guck on your intestinal walls, it helps to make it soft, and each time you do it, that stuff becomes softer and softer, and at one point your body is able to release it. So 1 or 2 is not going to do anything. And once it gets into those deeper layers of just, you know, gunk built up on your intestines, that's where the parasites live. That's where pathogenic bacteria, and then all of a sudden you're going to start dumping that out, and each time clearing up more layers. And so it's important to dedicate at least 8 sessions to actually get the full benefits of it, because then also the water begins to hydrate you from inside out. We are all chronically dehydrated. The quality of our water is so important. If you guys are into 4th phase water, there's ice, there's vapor, and there's water, but there's actually 4th phase water, which is crystalline water, and that's the type of water that hydrates us on a cellular level. But none of us drink that. It's all Dasani or filtered, and it passes through us rather than going into our tissues. But if you do something like colon therapy that saturates your colon with water for about 40 minutes or so each time, your body has the time to absorb that water and also, you know, hydrate your body and also your colon to make everything soft, so everything can begin to move out and move through. So it's a very, very effective practice, and I'm happy that you shared your story with us to inspire, because not many people might think to do that. It's really intimidating. Even an enema is like, for some people, like, ew, not for me.
Oh, totally. It was such a weird thing for so many people, but it's so beneficial that I blog about it. I totally blogged my experience. I mean, it's not graphic or anything, but yeah, definitely I would highly recommend it for people, and especially if you've never done one before. Yes, definitely commit to at least 8 sessions. A lot of people will just do 1. Nothing will come out. Nothing will happen. That's a clear sign that you're really backed up. That's years of gunk that has been stored in your intestines. So definitely be patient with the process. Trust the process. But you will feel so amazing. You're also going to learn so much about your body in that session, in all the sessions that you're doing. Yeah, you just learn a bit more.
Yeah, I remember my first one, I think probably 8 years ago, when I had all my IBS sessions. I think I found like a Groupon, and I thought, you know, cool, I'll try this out. And I went, and I had huge chunks of lettuce coming out. And the woman's like, are you chewing your food? You are not digesting anything. A huge piece of lettuce, romaine lettuce, this big, made it through my digestive system. Girl, you got problems. And it made me realize, you know, that's the whole importance. I'm really big on stomach acid and pancreatic enzymes. Do the baking soda test. Figure out if your body is actually breaking down nutrients. Otherwise, it's moving through your digestive system undigested, so it's creating mineral deficiencies and nutrient deficiencies within you, but also aggravating the entire gut lining and everything that moves through. So get connected to your digestive system.
Totally. Yeah. Highly suggested. If you have never done one, just go for one. Just go for one session and see what happens in that session, because that person, the one hydrotherapist, can definitely tell you what's going on. Like, you're not digesting your foods properly, you're not hydrated, you're dehydrated. They could definitely identify a candida overgrowth as well. So very beneficial.
And I know some places even infuse their water with something like chlorophyll, which is absolutely amazing. So yeah, that's one of the tips. One of the major takeaways, if you can, from this video is colon hydrotherapy, and even enemas. I just recently did an Epsom salt enema. I totally forgot about those until actually, yeah, last week with this last loading day and all the stress. My IBS flared up. I had this cramp kind of like in the lower right quadrant of my colon, and it kind of like infiltrates into the hip area too, and it's just a stabbing pain that doesn't go away. And I did the Epsom salt enema, and instantly, you know, the magnesium in the Epsom salts gets absorbed right away, because when we take it sublingually, our digestive juices actually ruin a lot of the magnesium. We don't actually pull a lot of it in. But if you do it in an enema, you pull in all this magnesium into the intestines, which instantly begin to relax, and you instantly begin to relax, and you stay hydrated because all the water is beginning to be pulled into your body. And the euphoria I felt after, it was like, you know how float houses are a really big thing now, where you get to go float in salt water and people like go and meditate. It felt like my inside of my body was this float house chamber, and I was just floating all day. So it's a really, really beneficial practice.
So what do you recommend for an enema? Like, what is there a certain type of brand? What's your favorite type? Because people do coffee enemas too.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of coffee enemas. It just depends on what is your intention. That's always my question behind anything, behind any diet, behind any workout, any kind of practice. What is your intention? If you want to detox the liver and boost your immune system and cleanse heavy metals, a coffee enema. If you want to relax and get your magnesium dose and hydrate, something like an Epsom salt enema. If you want to inoculate your colon with healthy bacteria, something like kefir or yogurt with chamomile tea, also really soothing and helps to put those beneficial bacteria inside. I've even done aloe vera before if you feel like you just have a lot of inflammation. Yeah, there's so many different types of recipes, and it's just important that you sterilize with hydrogen peroxide or with MMS your kit, because again, you don't want to be putting in bacteria that shouldn't be there. And also making sure that the water's not too hot, because you don't want to scald the inside of your colon. And you also want to make sure that it's clean water. Never use tap water. Always either boil it first and let it cool, or I have actually like a really heavy duty filtration system. I do so much to my water, because I also work with a company called Water Liberty, which is all about how to update and biohack your water these days. So yeah, just make sure you're smart about it. You're not just sticking anything that's there.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody that is, I heard it's not safe?
Pardon?
What would you say to somebody that says, I heard it's not safe? Like, are there safety issues that you have to be aware of?
Not at all. Enemas date back to biblical times. You can find documents in the Vatican that explain how to do an enema for health. Hippocrates has been using them since 2000 BC. This is a very safe procedure. It's recommended in the GAPS diet, especially if you're not eliminating if you're constipated, if you're not going to the bathroom every single day, that means you're constipated. Toxins are building up. Neurological conditions you're more likely to be susceptible to anger, depression, anxiety, bipolar, because these toxins are staying in your gut and continuing to move through your body and into your brain. And if you have a leaky gut, you also have a leaky blood-brain barrier. That means every toxin that's in your body is also moving through your brain. So super important to, if you're constipated, do enemas. Something like even just a slightly salted water enema. If you're new to enemas, do something like that first, Epsom salts, because they're really easy to retain and soothing. A coffee enema is a little trickier. The urgency to go is stronger and it's more intimidating. There's times where even me, like the second that it goes in, your body's like, not ready for it. And a lot of times you can actually do an Epsom salt or like a water enema first and then a coffee enema after to help clean out your bowels, so that when you do put in the coffee, it's a lot cleaner in there. And there is actually one concern a lot of people ask is if it's going to ruin my gut bacteria. And actually Donna Gates addressed this really well in that interview I watched with her. And she was saying that when you do an enema, that last, couple feet, 2 feet of colon that you're washing out, that's dead fecal matter anyway. That's dead gut bacteria. The alive gut bacteria live further up. So you're only just washing out what was on its way out anyway. So you don't have to worry about flushing out your gut bacteria.
Wow. I did not know all of that. Thank you for sharing that with me.
You're welcome.
Try that.
So I also wanted to ask you, what do you do on a daily basis? What are your 2 or 3 practical life tips that basically keep you on track and you don't go a day without doing, or maybe every other day?
I make sure my body and whether it's doing light yoga or just going to the gym. It doesn't always have to be like a heavy workout either. Just get your body moving. Endorphins levels up. It keeps your mood up. It keeps you feeling good. It gives you so much energy. So I don't really like to call it exercise. It could be anything to keep your body moving. Anything. I also like to take time out for myself to rest and relax. So if I'm just spending watching a documentary, I really appreciate that downtime to just rest. I do like meditating, but you don't have to sit in silence for 10 minutes either. You can always do a 5-minute guided meditation, something to just really calm your nervous system, just to really focus back on your breathing and back on your body, and just to reconnect. So I like to do that. So get your body moving, mindful practice, meditation if you can, or just taking 5 minutes to breathe. That's it. Just do deep breathing, real breathing. We're really chest breathers, and that's where all the anxiety comes in. Most importantly, taking your supplements every day. It is really tough nowadays to stay healthy, just because living in Canada and there's not a lot of organic farms. You may have to search them out as well, and it's hard to get your intake of vitamins, all your vitamins. So what I think, I wanted to show everybody that I take a good quality vitamin. That's so important for me. I know that when I miss my vitamins, my energy shot is lower than normal. My mood's kind of all over the place. So this is kind of like my backup to replace the nutrients that I'm not getting. So a high quality multivitamin, awesome. Another thing that I take is an anti-inflammatory supplement. So this has fish oils in it, has candida. And I just found that this really helps me, especially exercising so much, and to reduce inflammation in general. I like mushrooms as well. Omega-3, so good for you. I also take a daily probiotic. This one is Flora Colon, and this one is 80 billion with digestive issues as IBS. And I just like it makes me feel good, and it makes me know that there's some good bacteria in my gut. But most importantly, what has been really helping me stay regular. One of Andrew's regular girl fiber pack. It's got probiotics as well, and there's 6 grams of fiber. So I really like it. and you can mix it with anything. So I throw that in my smoothie. But what my diet now compared to when I was detoxing. So on the cleanse, I followed more of an autoimmune paleo diet, as well as GAPS. So I did GAPS for a full 3 weeks. I did the bone broth. I ate really light. I allowed my body to digest all the stuff that was in there, and also eating smoothies and lots of veggies with hummus. That gave me so much fiber in here. It was cleaning out the old stuff as well, and then I slowly swapped in some solid foods. So I moved right into an autoimmune paleo diet where the greens and the carbs were lower. It was more of a high protein, moderate fat diet. But I did the ketogenic diet is higher fat, moderate protein, really minimal carbs as well. So because of what the practice that was used while cleansing, I've actually maintained it into my life now because I wasn't strictly just following one. I had 3 that I could find that worked when I needed it to work, depending on the week as well, and lifestyle too. So those are all diets that you can definitely look up online. There's so many. There's an abundance. The safest ones that I like, that feeling full and satisfied due to the higher fat content, and also keeping the carbs lower for keeping your Candida at bay as well.
Wow, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
those are definitely like what I take as well every single day. Probiotics, and also a ton of fermented foods, because 6 ounces of sauerkraut has more bacteria and diversity than 8 bottles of 100 CFU forming colony units. After learning that from the Mercola study, I was like, sauerkraut every day.
Nice.
And that's why also be really, if your gut is in a really vulnerable state, be careful with fermented foods. They are so potent. They are medicine. So if you take too much, you might feel sick. And people will go, oh, it's not for me. When that happened, I felt bloated. Like, well, you're getting die-off. It can do that. Too much probiotic will kill off the bad guys. Definitely fish oils. And my thing I always do is alpha-lipoic acid or NAC. I'm going to do a whole little video for the group cleansers, but knowing me and my liver, like growing up as a teenager, I was a heavy drinker. I started drinking, my first drink was at 14, and then heavily from 15 to about 20 or so, just totally destroyed my liver. And then having a Candida infection, Candida targets the destruction of your healthy liver cells. So I'm always on top of the liver. So alpha-lipoic acid with selenium and milk thistle, those 3, it's called triple therapy. And there's nothing else like it that regenerates the liver cells.
Wow.
I'm always doing, something for the liver. And I've recently added chlorella back again every single day. I make I take a big jar that's about 1.5 liters. I fill 1 part chia seeds and the rest with water. And I let that soak up. And that's really amazing. Chia is high in magnesium, but also really high in fiber. And it's really, it releases this kind of jelly that makes it really soft and gooey. So when it moves through your digestive system, it's very hydrating, but at the same time pushes, the gunk out. And then once it's gelatinous, I'll put in my chlorella and drink that every single day. Maybe it's some apple cider vinegar and lemon. And I call that my dank drink. I like, how do you start your morning off? You have to have your dank drink.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is. I love chia seeds, and I was going to share the go-to snack on the cleanser because the process of cleansing on the Candida cleanser protocol is having your 4 a day days that you're detoxing for 5 days. So my main 2 meals would be like a smoothie with vegan chocolate powder and spinach, and that was my smoothie. But for my snacks, I had organic milk and a spoon of chia seeds and a packet of stevia, and I just stirred it up and I left it overnight. Oh my goodness, that was like ice cream to me. It was just so good, especially when it's hot. But yeah, that's definitely a snack that was what I ate for the 45 days. And some mixed nuts, right? That you have to like soak your cashews really well. But I kept it really basic and really simple, and avocados were my best friends during the floating phase.
Yeah. Also, I love cashew cream. This is a super easy recipe. You take cashews, raw cashews, and you pour hot water over it, like boiling hot water for 30 minutes. Then you drain it and stick that in a blender, and it's going to turn into this like warm, creamy, decadent cream.
Yeah.
It's like ice cream. It's so delicious, and top that on anything. It's just eat it straight.
Nice. Yeah, because a lot of people was adding fats, right? But yeah, those were great recommendations.
Yeah, and so I'd also recommend magnesium. We are all so deficient in magnesium. I think I covered one in a video, I don't know, probably like day 16 or something, where I take magnesium glycinate every single day, and then the Epsom salts as well, because we need magnesium to detox, especially if we're really stressed out and strung out. It totally just like stress soaks up our magnesium. All right. Wow. That's already been an hour.
Amazing.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. We have 2 viewers right now. If you guys have anything you want to say, there's a chat box to the right of the video. Feel free to type anything in. If you have any questions, if you just want to say hi, we want to connect with you. So come say hello. And I hope the video quality has been good. I couldn't tell on my end. It was kind of like bouncy sometimes.
Same.
Yeah, so I hope that, thank you so much for sticking around for the people that did. I know sometimes it's hard to watch poor quality video, but it's strange because I'm here in Vancouver and you're in Abbotsford, which is literally like an hour and a half, 2-hour drive away. I don't understand why the quality is so terrible. We need to find a new avenue to do these interviews.
Well, so close. We could have just done a face-to-face one, but next one.
Oh yeah, let's do that. Next time you're in Vancouver, come to my place and we'll go live.
Well, thank you so much, Aga. I just want to send so many blessings to everybody on their health journey as well. And feel free to shoot me a message. I'm active in the Candida group, and as well as check out the hashtag. Is it CCWS? No, wait. CCWSWIN?
Yeah, so it's hashtag CCWSWin.
Cool. Yeah. You'll see a lot of my actors and my posts on there. As well as my YouTube channel.
Yeah, what's your YouTube channel? And you have Instagram as well, right? Can you give your beats? Where can people find you?
Yes, it's Sommy Logic, so SOMMYLOGIC, and that's for all my social media platforms. And everyone's like, is that your last name? No, it's not. It's just this that I've given myself because there's Logic and then there's Sommy Logic, because my Logic is totally out there. They're different. And what might work might not work for others, so I definitely
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us and all your inspiration. Yeah, you're so beautiful. Keep up the great work.
Okay, take care, girl.
Bye.
Bye.